Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to Supposedly Wonderful Future, and time to get distracted by delicious foodstuffs once again. Looks like we've got a conversation here before we crash out and start our next assignment. Hey, Michael. Back with more questions? If you don't mind. Not in the slightest. In fact, I enjoy them. About that conversation back at my office. If you want to remind me how embarrassing it was, don't. I remember all too well. Actually, it's the opposite. I wanted to apologize. I was a bit of an ass during our first conversation. Oh, don't worry about it. I didn't exactly make a good first impression myself. I thought you were as convincing and professional as it gets. When I managed to get a hold of myself, maybe, but that beginning was a disaster. And over such a small, stupid thing, I put so much faith in planning, I completely forgot how to improvise. What was that small, stupid thing again? Well, I was supposed to appear in a specified location, follow a predetermined route to your office, and knock on your door at exactly 11:15. The first part was a success, but when I reached the area around your building, I saw different streets, and our map was wrong for some reason. I knew that any little deviation meant higher chances of unexpected consequences, and with so much at stake, I started to panic. Still made it in time in the end, but it was pretty troublesome. And sweaty. Did you start asking for directions? I did, and there was nothing wrong with that. It's not like a 10-second conversation with a total stranger could affect anyone's future. Oh, I think that is a lie. We planned for all kinds of contingencies. What I call unexpected consequences was never a real danger. But me and my own hang-ups, no, I wanted to do it perfectly, just to be on the safe side. As if the most complex and reliable calculations in the history of mankind were not good enough for me. Do you know why your map was wrong? Could have been anything, really. Back in the 10s, it was not uncommon for geodata to be imprecise or out of date, especially for smaller alleyways and back streets. If it's satellite imagery, it's a subject to resolution limitations, and if it's not, there wasn't any proper way to double-check it. I vaguely remember someone mentioning all this during the planning phase, but I guess it got glossed over. Why were you dressed so formally? Because everyone is supposed to dress like that in 2018, of course. It's amazing how a mere 30 years can totally wreck your common sense knowledge of contemporary fashion trends. You're being sarcastic. Yes, I'm being sarcastic, Michael. It was a terrible idea to dress like that. I could have used one of my usual outfits and nobody would have said a word. Instead, I forced myself to wear that anti-splits thingy. It was not comfortable. Are you saying nobody wears tight skirts around here? Some do, but people do all kinds of crazy things, right? That's true. You kept calling me Mr. back then, and now we're on a first-name basis? Do you dislike it? I thought the switch was appropriate since we officially started to work together. You know, to celebrate the fact we're not total strangers anymore. I sure enjoy having people in my life who are not total strangers. Well, I noticed you were getting nervous during our walk, too. Yeah, that was when I stopped being completely absorbed with the task and started to take proper notice of my surroundings. It was pretty uncanny to walk the streets of 2018. I'm glad we did, though. I needed a reminder. Of what? Of how I feel about the past, and how I feel about the present, and what that difference is. Want to share the results? Well, it feels like people care about people today. There are fewer generalizations and less stereotyping. We learn to look at each other and see past the colors of the skin, or nationalities, or political views. We see human beings, and accept that they are every bit as complex as we are. Each of us is a mess of thoughts, ideas, plans, emotions. And that's okay. I mean, the rational part of my brain says it's just wishful thinking. It's impossible for 9 billion humans to just magically get rid of bias in 30 years, and it's equally not right to view 7 billion from 2018 as one giant pool of prejudice. So we've gone in 40 years, or 30 years, 2 billion more humans. I criticize generalizations, yet I generalize myself. And as the famous saying goes, all generalizations are false, including this one. But it's still important to me. It speaks to me on a deeper level and reminds me, carry on, you're moving in the right direction. It gives me an emotional boost when cerebral boosts are not enough. I simply feel that something is right here, something that wasn't right back there. And it probably sounds stupid. It doesn't. The most important things are frequently hard to put into words. Thanks, but you don't seem to have any problems with words. On the contrary, you say a lot of wonderful and wise things. It's almost as if we lose something precious with each passing generation. Not only acquire, that's a scary thought. But it's an obvious one. Newer doesn't mean better. Yeah, kind of contradicts my convenient conclusions, eh? But I'm afraid I'm too stubborn to stop believing in them. That's fair enough. So, time traveling. Yep. Pretty crazy, huh? Tell me about it. Actually, I was hoping you could tell me about it, about this strange little project. I'll be glad to. Did you really mean it back at my office? After we're done with work, you want me to stay and live here? Absolutely. The choice is yours, of course, but the project makes more sense if you decide to stick around. And you're not going to stop there, are you? You intend to repeat the same thing with the other candidates. Exactly. Like I said before, it's a long-term project. You're the first, but not the last. Not even remotely the last if all goes well. But why? Of all the things you could do with a time machine in your hands, why this? Well, it's the right thing to do. The most responsible thing. I mean, what's so alluring about time traveling anyway? Why would we want to use it? Because it gives us a chance to change something. Something that can't be changed any other way. When you look at most of our troubles, there are plenty of alternative and much safer ways to solve them. The only thing we can't solve differently is an occurred death. But it's not just about tragedy. It's also about debt. No matter what we do, we stand on the shoulders of older generations. Any grand achievement of Life Plus would be impossible without the centuries of hard work that led up to it. It's people like you who spend their lives doing that work, yet none of you are now around to see it. It seems unavoidable and therefore completely natural, but it's so unfair. And if humanity can finally challenge this unfairness, well, why not? It's that simple. Playing God just like that. It's never as simple as it sounds, and believe me, we are nothing like God. We're more like combat engineers in a field full of landmines, disarming one explosive after another and trying to move as careful as possible, but walking forward anyway because each step makes our lives so much better. How does this time-traveling business work anyway? I'm honestly unable to explain the technology itself. There's only a handful of people in the world right now who fully understand it. I mean, I know these people, and they certainly tried to explain it to me, and I could probably try to relay it, but that would be messy and confusing, so I'd rather not. But I can describe how we plan the operations if you're interested. Go on, that should be educational. Well, the key word is preparing. Lots and lots of it. And the key instrument is raw computational power, the kind of power that can simulate pieces of reality. It may sound like another marvelous technological achievement, but it's just good old modeling. Recreate a bit of our world inside a program, define the rules with enough detail, and it'll behave in a similar way, right? In your case, that bit was your office. We chose a morning when you were alone and uninterrupted, loaded every available data into our simulation software, and started to experiment with my arrival. In the end, it gave us a safe route, a way to carry out the mission without accidentally changing anything else in the past. That's how I knew what to do, when to knock on your door, when to know when we leave, and when to initiate a time jump. The same goes for bigger changes, like letting you disappear from the past and live here. Every potential alteration goes through a simulation first, which allows us to understand the consequences and keep the butterfly effect in check. I love butterfly effect stuff. It still doesn't give us any guarantees, mind you, but it's a huge asset in wrestling the sheer complexity of it all. Why focus on the past? Why not jump further into the future? It's too risky. So is the past, but you say simulations take care of that. Yes, but these simulations can happen only because we have historical data. Humanity has already lived through it, so we know all the variables, except the ones we're trying to change. But the future? We don't know a thing about the future yet. Yet a simulation like this would be plain impossible. So no, unless we really want to test our luck and play with reality as if it was a sci-fi movie, the future is still off limits for us, sadly. Do you think past generations even want this? Well, you can never be sure. That's why we intend to ask first. Everyone will be free to refuse our proposition, just like you were. No one will blame them for it, either. Between the sketchy details and the required commitment to solve unknown problems, the choice is far from obvious. So, how many people know about this project? For now, almost nobody. But we plan to gradually change that as we bring more and more successful candidates. Eventually, the whole program will go public. Because remember, in the newspaper, someone was bringing up the fact that there may be time travel technology here soon, but they already have it here at Life Plus. Will Life Plus be the only one who controls time traveling? Absolutely. And only for the purpose of this project. Any further applications will be thoroughly assessed for risks. And any attempts to replicate the technology outside of Life Plus will be prevented using the full extent of our power. Scary. Sorry, that sounded more sinister than I intended. What I mean is, time traveling is crazy helpful, but is also crazy dangerous. And if some random people start to use it, they might erase humanity out of existence or something, so we should use Life Plus resources to keep it under tight control. Will you even be able to? We'll try our best. Ideally, things will take care of themselves. We'll share our plans with the world, explain our reasoning, and the world will understand. Besides, small as it may be, our time machine contains some rare materials. It's not something one could build in a garage. You think you have the right to do that, though? I think we have an obligation to do so. Don't you? I don't know. But when you prevent people from using something cool, they can get upset. Just saying. Michael, this thing is more dangerous than an atomic bomb. Do you think we should have free access to nuclear weapons as well? Are you upset that you can't buy your Wretch uranium at a local supermarket? An atomic bomb can't fix your life's mistakes, though. It also can't erase people without anyone noticing. The positive impact is greater, sure, but so is the negative one. Still, why should Life Plus be calling the shots? Oh, we'd love for the whole world to join us in calling the shots. Involve the UN, design proper regulations, put additional measures in place to remove any chance of abuse. But things like this may take years to happen. So in the meantime, it'll be up for us to guarantee everyone's safety. Okay, I guess I see your point. Thank you. Maybe I'm not the best person to explain it, but we're honestly trying to do the right thing. This is not about power, it's about caution. So, why do you keep hanging around an elevator lobby? Don't you have an office? I do. I just like it here more. Any particular reason why? Hard to say. There was a time when I was flying around the world non-stop, working out of hotel lobbies. It's not as romantic as it might sound, but I still liked it much better than returning to the same office every day, so maybe I'm trying to recreate the feeling. Or maybe I just like the view. You don't have the same view out of your office? No, my place is further down the hallway. The windows overlook the opposite side. It's still pretty much a postcard material, but nowhere near as iconic. Must be a big office too, filled with expensive furniture. It's such a waste of good space. It's not that big and expensive. It may be kind of elitist to have a whole floor only for execs and other select few, but it's an exercise in privacy rather than luxury. Generally, we try to spend money on the stuff that matters. Okay, I get it. Anything else on your mind? That's all I've got. Well, sure thing. If you need anything else, you know where to find me. Anything else that we can click here? No more net. Go ahead and talk to her again. Alright, I guess it's sleep times, unless we can take her coffee. Elevator go down the hall. Elevator stop. I'm still expecting to find someone just randomly sitting in my room as like part of the simulation, I guess. The bed was mocking me. The same, "You will regret it in the morning," I'd heard 100 times before. For once, I had to admit defeat and embrace its comfort. The net is vast and infinite. Chapter 3. Elevator Experiment. Oh lord. Hey Michael, how was your night today? Well, it's better than the previous one, thanks. I'm glad to hear that. So, about today's problem. Where should I start? You already know that Life Plus happens to enjoy the status of the world's biggest and most resourceful company at the moment, right? Everyone keeps saying that. Well, according to our status, we also enjoy having the world's biggest physical data storage facility. A lot of servers piled up in one place. All nice and secure and pretty much impossible to hack because we would track anyone skillful enough to do it before they can do it and then employ them with awesome salary and benefits and stuff. Which makes me think that they may have hired the hacker from Ashley's case. Possibly. Yeah, all that's not dystopian at all. Awesome salaries and benefits aren't. We also got supercomputers to help us and do some hardcore firewalling in case our preventive recruitment strategy fails. Go on. We also spend a fair amount of resources on real-world security measures, so sneaking into the facility without leaving any traces should not be feasible. Okay, your data storage is awesome. I get it. What I'm trying to say is that it's very unrealistic for any human being to meddle with our servers without us knowing it. Which is an important notion because that's exactly what happened. A couple of years ago, rogue data started to appear out of nowhere. What do you mean, out of nowhere? Like an RKO? I mean literally out of nowhere. No incoming traffic, no input signals, nothing. We plugged our network devices out just to be sure, leaving the servers isolated from the outside world, yet it still kept coming right in front of our eyes. As if someone in the room was setting ones and zeros directly in the memory, except the room was empty. Are there any other ways to transmit data? Ways that are completely untraceable but compatible with typical computers? Nothing we're aware of. Whoever did it, they were using something beyond the knowledge of modern science. That sounds more like a ghost story. And we were quite spooked. But that was before the nature of the data came into play. And what kind of data was it? It wasn't a virus or any other malware, or false data injection to screw up our records. It was nothing but harmless text. Somebody said hello and asked if we could have a chat. Well, that's a peculiar way to start a conversation. Well, actually, so did you have a chat? Well, after we spent weeks analyzing possibilities but failed to come up with a sensible explanation, yeah, there was nothing better left to do. We wrote a response and saved it on the servers, and then a new set of rogue data appeared. Then we left another reply, and our sender talked back again. Before we knew it, we were having meaningful conversations. Very lengthy and peculiar conversations. Did he introduce himself? Yes. He said that he is God. What kind of God? I created your entire universe kind of God. He said he initiated the Big Bang. Said that he lives in another universe, watched humanity evolve from afar, and now decided to contact us. Well, that's an unexpected turn of events. For sure, but that's just the beginning. Wait till you hear it all firsthand. You wouldn't mind to have a chat like this yourself, would you? Oh, so the third problem is... Yes, we'd like you to talk to this being. That's it? To simply talk? Yes, to simply talk. That doesn't sound a lot like a problem, and doesn't sound a lot like solving. It is, and we'll get to that, trust me. But for now, try to concentrate on the conversation. Feel free to chat with him any way you prefer and ask anything you like. How exactly are we going to chat? Virtual reality. You'll be indistinguishable from a usual conversation to you. Plain text is still the only kind of data he sends, but a voice can be emulated. We set up an access point at the underground levels of the building, and I'll take you there when you're ready. Is he always available for conversation? A deity on demand? No, actually, we did some pre-arrangements. He talks only when interested in his conversation partner, but getting him interested in humanity's first time traveler wasn't very hard, as you might imagine. How many conversations did you actually have so far? How many people have talked to him before? It's hard to say. The first contact was more like a collective mail correspondence, with a good chunk of our R&D brainstorming responses for days to come. After that, he insisted on talking only in real time and only with one person at a time, with others reading data but never contributing to responses, and managed to notice and go silent every time we tried to he managed to notice and went silent every time we tried to cheat. Since then, I don't remember the exact number, something like 20 people? What kind of people were they? A diverse bunch. Different ages, different professions, different mindsets and values. Sometimes he requests a specific person and refuses to say more until we comply, even if it means flying this person to our facilities halfway across the planet. Sometimes we ask him to chat with a lead scientist or some other experienced staff member, and he gets all agreeable and courteous about it. Did you talk with him? Yes. What about? I'd rather not mention it for now. Discussing any of the previous conversations would mean interrupting his words, and that would introduce bias. Let's just compare notes later. Shall we get going then? God's a busy man. With pleasure. Follow me. Are we getting all Star Trek V here? You and Jackie take the same elevator as usual, but go all the way down, passing by the ground floor and continuing well below that. As the ride drags on, you think of hidden underground facilities and secret research labs, of oblivious Hong Kong tourists and chats with Lovecraftian monsters that happen right beneath their feet. Of elevators that are not just elevators, but cleverly disguised means of transportation that take you through an elaborate system of tunnels to an undisclosed location where bleary-eyed employees are toiling away, driven mad by revelations and forever silenced by NDAs. Welcome to the Black Mesa Research Facility. Naturally, reality ends up lacking. Once the door opens, all you see is a gray-walled corridor and an entrance to a small room. A man and a woman are scurrying around a VR terminal inside it, probably making some final adjustments, but step aside immediately once they notice your arrival. On Jackie's cue, you take a seat, put the headgear on, and watch as the projections cover your entire field of vision. Virtual reality set is online. Initial instructions are loaded. Executing command, call to user. Oh, God has an ID number. Establishing connection. Please note, the user you are about to talk to has not provided any visual input. To improve virtual reality experience and facilitate an emotional state suitable for productive conversation, a background of aesthetically pleasing abstract imagery will be displayed. Okay. A minute later, you hear a voice sounding in your head. It feels completely natural, hitting all the tones and emotional subtleties a typical human would. The spoken words, however, come to you as a bit of a surprise. Hey man, thank you so much for coming and having this chat with me. All of a sudden I instantly get the image of my head of God from Supernatural. Okay guys, I'll tell you what, I think this would be the perfect place to go ahead and end the episode. And we're apparently going to have a chat with quote-unquote God. And we'll see where we go from there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked the episode, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. And we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.